Topping today's news, another child falls victim to gun violence here in the capital. The number of dengue fever cases rises slightly. Abaco suffers yet another traffic fatality for the year, and the Ministry of Works gets new equipment to deal with flooding and road repairs. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Jerino Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News. It is a pleasure to have you join us. Another juvenile in less than a week has become a victim of gun violence. An 8-year-old girl is in hospital nursing an injury to her leg after a gunman indiscriminately opened fire on a group of people in the Flamingo Gardens area last night. Police say the child, along with family members, was sitting on the front porch of a home on India Drive when a male exited a white Japanese vehicle and opened fire on them, resulting in the girl being shot. The suspect then returned to the vehicle and fled the area, making good his escape. Subsequently, emergency medical technicians were called to the scene and transported the victims to the hospital, where at last report she was in stable condition. This shooting comes on the heels of a 4-year-old boy along with 2 adult males being shot last Thursday in an incident that unfolded on Rupert Dean Lane and Ferguson Street in Bainstown. Both adult males, ages 25, received multiple gunshot injuries to the upper body, while the 4-year-old boy was shot to the left leg. They were all transported to the Princess Margaret Hospital, where one of the adult males succumbed to his injuries. The other was listed in serious condition at last check, and the juvenile, at last report, was listed in stable condition. Cases of dengue fever in the country have risen to 21, up from 16, with one of those individuals being a child. This coming from Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Michael Dovell, who says we are dealing with a different strain of dengue fever.
Of the 21 cases, what is concerning the Ministry of Health is 16 of those came back serotype positive for type 3 dengue. In 2011, we had a situation where we had dengue, and mainly it was serotypes 1 and 2. For that, we are concerned because if you had dengue in the past and you have dengue with serotype 3, there's a strong possibility that you would have a more severe reaction and possibly result in hospitalization. And that's why the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the Department of Environmental Health are working so diligently to ensure that we educate the general population on precautionary measures and to ensure that we stop the breeding in those areas where cases have been identified.
He says cases have been confirmed in the south and eastern areas of New Providence, with 5 of them in hospital.
We spoke at our press conference about brackish water, but we realized that the majority of complications and spread potential by the vector is basically in the environment. And so protection is the key element for us to protect our environment, to ensure that we do not have these breeding sites around our homes to reduce the spread as a result of overbreeding of the Aedes aegypti mosquito. Yes, the last report indicated that 1 person was in ICU. That 1 person is now on the medical ward, thank God. But I also want to report that we have 5 cases in hospital now. Of the 5, 1 is a pediatric case. We're monitoring all of them closely, and none are in the intensive care.
Dr. Dovell is encouraging residents to practice preventative measures to reduce breeding of mosquitoes.
Yes, fogging will continue, but the environmental experts made it very clear that fogging is only one element. Fogging basically addressed the mosquito that is airborne, but if we still have breeding, if we fog today and we do not address the breeding sites, we end up having the same situation the following day. And so it's important for residents to walk around the home to look for areas of potential breeding grounds, turn over those empty containers, make sure that you have insect repellent, and try to protect yourself with long sleeve as well as long pants. We know that the mosquito is very active from dusk to dawn, but it can be active during the day, but they are the most indicative signs of when you could get a potential bite. Again, the Bahamian population needs to understand the importance of protecting our own environment to reduce the breeding of this mosquito, which is the mosquito responsible for the spread as the vector of dengue fever.
Symptoms of dengue fever include headaches, fever, nausea, vomiting, rash, aches and pains such as eye pain, muscle, bone, and joint pain. People experiencing fever and 2 or more of these symptoms, you're asked to see a health care provider. Police on Abaco investigating that island's 5th traffic fatality for the year, according to Jcn's records. Police say an adult male who was the rear seat passenger of a blue Nissan Cube was extricated from that vehicle after the driver collided into a utility pole on Monday evening. Police say shortly after 6 p.m., a male driver along with 4 passengers were all occupants of a blue Nissan Cube that was traveling west along Ernest Dean Highway when the driver reportedly lost control of the vehicle and collided into a utility pole. He, along with 3 other passengers, a male and 2 females, were transported to the local clinic in Sandyport, Abaco. The other passenger was pronounced dead by medical professionals. A team of officers from the traffic division here in the capital traveling to Abaco today to assist with that investigation. The Ministry of Works has invested over $1 million in heavy-duty equipment for flood mitigation and continued road development. Works and Utilities Minister Alfred Sayers showing off those equipment on Monday afternoon, noting that the heavy-duty machinery will assist with the completion of road works and keeping low-lying areas water-free. Our Destiny Johnson has more in this next report.
A long time coming for the Ministry of Works, as they have acquired heavy-duty equipment for continued road maintenance and flood mitigation for the first time in over 20 years. Minister of Works and Utilities Alfred Sayers says the road equipment cost a total of $400,000.
This is the first time in 20 years, I'm advised, that the ministry has gotten a large inventory of tools. And behind me we have a 426 backhoe, a 375 air compressor, as well as a skid steer. And these are vital tools. Currently, the ministry relies on a number of contractors. But there needs to be the capacity within the ministry itself so that it could be more nimble.
In addition to the machines, the ministry has also hired 25 additional staff for road construction.
Young people who will have an opportunity to pursue a career in road construction. And they are currently deployed working with our engineers who are present, such as Mr. Francis Clark and also Mr. Moxie with respect to the flood mitigation area.
In terms of flood mitigation, the ministry has also invested $700,000 into pumps for low-lying areas prone to flooding. Senior drainage engineer Henry Moxie says the pumps can move 1,000 to 1,500 gallons of water per minute.
What I must note is that this is the first in a very long time that we have actually made such an acquisition as it relates to pumps. You would see here in the background, if I may point out, this is one of 7 pumps that were procured with the intent on addressing some of the flooding concerns that we have here on the island of New Providence. We're hopeful that with this acquisition and with the use of them here on New Providence, that this similar process would be actually replicated on the Family of Islands.
Mr. Moxie says his department is seeking to target areas like Pinewood Gardens, The Grove, South Beach, and the East Bay Street area. These pumps will be in full operation as early as next week, but he emphasizes that they are only a temporary fix.
So we have been looking at new systems in place. Just a few that we've already been looking at along Bay Street. Bay Street it's attached directly to the ocean. So whenever you have a tidal impact, it actually brings water back into the system. So what we have here on that truck to the back is a system that we have begun to implement in in areas that are prone to flooding so that we won't have to be impacted by that. What I have here in my hand is what you call a WAPRO valve. It's a tidal backflow valve. What this does, it allows storm water to not pass through and come up into our drainage infrastructure. What this does is it suppresses the high tide, but it allows storm water that is already in the drainage infrastructure to pass out and outfall where it ought to go, or back into the sea or whatever drainage outfall point that we have.
Mr. Moxey asserts that these new equipments have been thoroughly researched and they are proving quite effective in the areas where they are already installed. For Jcn News, I'm Destiny Johnson.
Thanks for that report, Destiny. A landmark $1.8 million industrial agreement signed on Monday at the office of the Prime Minister between the Bahamasair Navigation Service Authority and the Bahamasair Traffic Controllers Union. Attached to the 3-year contract are new employee benefits as well as salary increases. Giving more details, Minister of Tourism, Investments and Aviation, Deputy Prime Minister Chester Cooper.
It is a recognition of the key role that air traffic controllers play at the gateway of our country and our economy. The new agreement addresses the following. 1. The updating of management job titles to reflect the new organizational structure that was approved and implemented in July 2022. 2. The alignment of job titles to reflect new job responsibilities. 3. The improvement of training allowances to encourage an increase in the number of certified employees who can participate in on-the-job training of their colleagues. And 4. A more efficient procedure that enables the prompt payment of the company's obligations relating to retirement from the organization.
The implementation of this new industrial agreement will also result in moving the compensation levels for the air traffic controllers closer to full alignment with their regional and international counterparts. 117 members of Air Traffic Controllers Union will benefit. President of the union, Hinsey McKinsey, said although the signing is long overdue, the union is grateful.
Thank you. It's a record-breaking signing industrial agreement. It's been long overdue. We've been a year and 15 months so far waiting. And I think it could have been accomplished much quicker than that. Because most of the time was dragged on. And we think we could have come to a reasonable time within 6 months. Well, I hope the next contract, which is this one's just been halfway gone, it's not a long time, because I don't have a long time in office, Minister. It's not a long time. And I expect that one to be signed before I am in office. I must say that working with the government was a pleasure, especially Mr. Evans and his team. Also with the Prime Minister who met us in April, who speed up the process.
The new industrial agreement is retroactive to 2022 and will expire in June of 2025. And finally, in this segment, if you had plans to travel to Cuba on Bahamasair over the next few days, you may want to listen up. Bahamasair announcing in a statement on Monday evening the cancellation of its Havana, Cuba flights scheduled for today, August 29th, due to impacts of the impending storm Idalia. In the statement, the airline said the safety and well-being of their passengers and crew members remains their top priority, and that the rescheduled Havana flight 211 and 212 will instead operate on Wednesday, August 30th, departing Nassau at 11:45 a.m., then departing Havana, Cuba at 2:40 p.m. The statement also said that Bahamasair will be waiving penalties for all passengers traveling to and or from the state of Florida, including West Palm Beach, Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, and Miami, for flights originally scheduled for Tuesday, August 29th, Wednesday, August 30th, and Thursday, August 31st. Bahamasair said this gesture is aimed at providing passengers with flexibility during these challenging circumstances. Additionally, Bahamasair wishes to advise the traveling public of the cancellation of Flight 237 and 238 operating to and from Orlando and Nassau on Wednesday, August 30th, in light of the storm's proximity. The airline thanks the traveling public for your attention and cooperation as they prioritize your safety. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.